Devil Venerable also wants to know. Chapter 34, High Spirits. Venerable 1, Yin Hanjiang offered the token to Wenren with both hands. Wenren he had given this token to Bailey Qing in exchange for the shattered mountain meteorite. Both the workings of karma and Wenren's own character would not allow him to simply take it back. He had felt a bit nervous when Bailey Qing first took it out, but if she had actually used it, then he would have to step in. If he escorted the two out of the Hellfire Pavilion, they would part ways outside and all his work would have been for nothing. This was also the first time Yin Hanjiang had taken the initiative without Wenren's orders. Just seeing his troubled expression, Yin Hanjiang had rushed in, still doing his best to ease Wenren's burden for him. After he put on the mask, he seemed to become a completely different person. Forget Bailey Qing and Zhongli Qian, even Wenren himself hardly recognized him. No wonder neither the characters nor the readers had figured out right up until Bailey Qing had seen the mask in his bag, that the ghost mask was actually the faithful and deferent Yin Hanjiang. Speaking of that, Wenren guessed that Yin Hanjiang had purposefully let Bailey Qing see that mask. He had probably wanted her to fall into despair and give up on survival. Unfortunately, it hadn't worked. This Venerable One cannot take back a token he has given out, Wenren said. You can keep it. I'll just give her a messaging talisman in the future. A faint smile appeared on Yin Hanjiang's face. He placed the token securely near his heart. Wenren felt like if he dissuaded him, Yin Hanjiang would try to shove it inside his own chest. It was just a little token that he had made out of the leftover material that the 7-killing halberd was made from. It wasn't actually good for much. Its only use was that if someone sent their own spiritual energy into it, Wenren would be able to sense it. Oh well. If Yin Hanjiang liked it, he could have it. Seeing Yin Hanjiang acting so meek, Wenren was puzzled. When he completed the army-crushing sword, Yin Hanjiang should have already cleared his psychological blocks and had stopped restricting himself. How come he seemed to have regressed? Was it because of the ghost mask? Let me see that mask. Wenren held out a hand. Yin Hanjiang didn't offer it and instead clutched it tighter in his hand. Wenren reached out and casually grabbed it, but felt some resistance. Only when he yanked it harder the second time, did Yin Hanjiang release it. He examined it closely but found it to be an ordinary mask from the mortal world, made from ordinary materials. Yin Hanjiang might have picked it up on a whim from a shop in the little border town. It shouldn't have any ability to influence a person's mind. Why was Yin Hanjiang unwilling to hand it to him? Wenren stuck it on his own face. Through it, he saw a faint tinge of red color on Yin Hanjiang's face, as he showed an expression that Wenren had never seen before. He quickly took it off, but when he looked back again, Yin Hanjiang's expression had returned to normal, looking as calm and unperturbed as always. Wenren wondered if he was seeing things. He turned the mask back and forth in his hand, but couldn't discover a trick to it. Give me your hand, he ordered. Yin Hanjiang extended his hand to Wenren. Wenren felt his pulse, then sent his own spiritual energy into Yin Hanjiang's body and found that his meridians were unobstructed and there was no problem with his cultivation. He showed no signs of qi deviation. Wenren withdrew his hand, letting it rest on the mask. He still felt puzzled. Ever since he had picked up that first book, many questions had formed in his mind. Once he got answer to one, another would appear. Maybe this was just fate. Maybe he would never be able to fully understand everything. Does the Venerable One like this mask? Yin Hanjiang asked, seeing how Wenren had held onto it for all this time. Not really. Wenren gave it back to Yin Hanjiang, watching as he placed it back in his storage pouch, his face still expressionless. Something just wasn't right. Yet he couldn't put his finger on it. Wenren trusted that Yin Hanjiang wouldn't lie to him or conceal anything from him. They had already confided in each other and always acted openly towards each other. How come when Yin Hanjiang put on the mask, Wenren he was completely unable to read him? From now on, if it's just you and me, don't wear that mask, Wenren he said. And don't wear it when it's not necessary, either. Understood, Yin Hanjiang answered, very lightly. He showed none of the resolution he had in the past. Wenren he wanted to keep interrogating Yin Hanjiang about the mask, but Bailey Qingmiao and Zhongli Qian had started holding hands, so Wenren he had to turn his attention over to the developments on their side. They were holding hands because Zhongli Qian had stumbled and nearly fell, so Bailey Qingmiao reached out and grabbed him. Young Master Zhongli, she said, you can't see anything, so let's help each other out for now. Zhongli Qian shook his head. I think it's odd. Even if I can't see, with my spiritual cognition, I should be able to sense everything around me. How come I didn't notice whatever I tripped on? Miss Bailey, can you check what it was for me? Bailey Qingmiao glanced back. It's a femur bone. It's been rolling around by itself, trying to trip you up. Zhongli Qian released Bailey Qingmiao's hand. Miss Bailey, why don't you use your bonded weapon to tie our hands together? Men and women shouldn't touch casually. I do not wish to be improper with you. He wasn't usually that stuffy, but he was nervous about the fact that his eyes had been cursed to only see Bailey Qingmiao. He trusted that Bailey Qingmiao was a member of a righteous sect and had good character, so he never thought that she would harm him. However, a person like her could easily be manipulated, so it was better for him to play it safe. Bailey Qingmiao didn't mind and even thought that this was a good idea. This way, if Zhongli Qian were to fall or be thrown by something, she could just loosen the silk and not be dragged along with him. Then, after getting better footing, she could pull him back using it. Thus, they swapped from holding hands to holding a silk tied between them. Bailey Qingmiao looked like she was guiding a blind person. Wenren he. This wasn't what he had expected to happen. He had accomplished picking the other person instantly out of a crowd and sharing their emotions, so how come they were still so stiff and deferent with each other? He hadn't expected them to blindfold their own eyes. Was it really because he couldn't understand the last line, love takes you unawares, and before you know it, you're deep in its clutches? But what kind of a feeling was that referring to, exactly? What does love takes you unawares, and before you know it, you're deep in its clutches mean? Wenren he asked. When you realize it's happening, it's already too late to break free, Yin Hanjiang replied behind him. His voice shook slightly. He probably also thought this line was rather silly. I know what it means literally, Wenren he said. But how does one suppose to accomplish it? Cultivators cultivate their minds. How can anyone be so oblivious of their own intentions that they couldn't discover them until they're in too deep? If someone is really so confused, then how can they cultivate? How would they enlighten to the Dao? Enlightenment happens in a flash. It never comes before you realize it is happening. Who knows? Yin Hanjiang's tone was a bit cold. Probably only the people deep in its clutches can understand it. Then what was he supposed to do? Wenren he was aware that it wouldn't be easy to make Bailey Qingmiao forget about He Wenzhao. He didn't try to control Bailey Qingmiao either. But wasn't it natural for Zhongli Qian to fall in love with the female lead? Why didn't he feel anything? The devil Venerable knew far too little about matters of love. He could only reference the original book. He opened abusive love affair, you are the only one that will remain in my heart, wanting to revisit every word and action of Bailey Qingmiao and Zhongli Qian's meeting. But the words on the page were currently changing madly. Wenren he could only read through it once before it was revised to something completely different. Bailey Qingmiao and Zhongli Qian supported each other as they tried to escape the Hellfire Pavilion, with only one eye between them. The sun had set by now and Bailey Qingmiao was afraid of running into someone like the red-robed man again, so she struck up a conversation with Zhongli Qian. I don't know who captured me. My master is a really powerful wandering immortal, and we were walking together when it happened. My vision suddenly went black and I lost consciousness. When I woke up, my master was gone and I was trapped in here. Some sickly but still good-looking man put a drop of blood in my left eye and also extracted some of my blood. A bit later, a pretty and delicate-looking man made me eat something that made my chest hurt for a moment. I have no idea what they did to me. Hearing all this, Zhongli Qian pursed his lips. Why only your left eye? I don't know. It looked like he was planning to do both, but when he got to my right eye, he suddenly had a coughing fit and couldn't manage it. Maybe his sickness flared up. That man was the master of the Hellfire Pavilion of Xianyuan sect, Qing. He cultivates the 7 human sufferings, and in order to inflict suffering on others, he must first inflict it on himself. He's always sickly and he couldn't possibly have a sudden flare-up. He is basically a walking illness. Bailey Qingmiao suddenly turned her head, looking at Zhongli Qian closely with her right eye. She squinted a little and rubbed her chest. Strange, why do I suddenly feel so suspicious of you? Zhongli Qian. That would be because he was suspecting Bailey Qingmiao, and under the influence of the heart-linking parasites, she felt the same way too. Zhongli Qian had held out hopes that only the tracking spell on their eyes would be linked, and the heart-linking parasite would be with someone else. Now that she had shared his emotions, his hopes fell. With the heart-linking parasite, one could not hide any of their emotions. He and Bailey Qingmiao had to cooperate or they would never escape the Hellfire Pavilion. Zhongli Qian originally hadn't planned to resist, but Wenrenhe's recent actions made him wary. He was the heir to the Zhongli clan. He might end up doing something wrong under the influence of the heart-linking parasite in the future, so it was better that he give up his position now and become a wandering cultivator. Miss Bailey, let me undo the silk that's tying us together and conceal myself somewhere. Then take off the cloth over your left eye and look for me. I want to confirm how strong the curse is, Zhongli Qian said. They could only determine their next steps after obtaining all the relevant information. Bailey Qingmiao readily agreed. She also wanted to know how bad her eye condition was. After Zhongli Qian hid, she took off her blindfold and saw a thin thread with her left eye. She followed it, turning around and saw Zhongli Qian through a door. Her vision could even penetrate through solid surfaces. I can see you, young Master Zhongli, Bailey Qingmiao said. When Zhongli Qian opened the door and walked out, Bailey Qingmiao's vision was filled with his face again. She quickly covered her eye up and described what she had just seen. This tracking curse truly is strong, Zhongli Qian spoke with a sigh. Even if the one whose blood was taken runs to the ends of the earth, they won't be able to escape the other's sight. Distance has no effect on it. So, the blood in my eyes was young Master Zhongli's. Then who got my blood? Me, Zhongli Qian said, knowing that he couldn't hide it from Bailey Qingmiao. I had to blindfold my eyes because my eyes can only see Miss Bailey's face. There's basically no difference between having these eyes and not. Bailey Qingmiao knew the sensation and felt sympathy for him. She at the very least had one working eye, while Zhongli Qian couldn't use either. Zhongli Qian could feel Bailey Qingmiao's pity and sighed. Miss Bailey, we have to test one more thing. Try to think of something that makes you really emotional. Bailey Qingmiao's thoughts immediately turned to He Wenzhao and her heart sank. She remembered that her Shikshan was to marry Lu Xinyi today and that they might be in bed together by now. It was so painful, huh? She wasn't actually sad at all. Bailey Qingmiao rubbed her chest. One moment, it had felt like a knife had been stuck into her heart, and the next moment, the pain was gone. Try thinking of something happy now, Zhongli Qian said. Bailey Qingmiao thought of growing up together with her Shikshan and how well Shikshan had treated her. It made her so happy. No, she wasn't happy at all. Her heart was as calm as still water. Miss Bailey, the things you just thought of were what make you most sad and most happy, right? Zhongli Qian asked. Yes, Bailey Qingmiao said firmly. I love Qing. He's the one who can stir my feelings the most. That puts me at ease, Zhongli Qian said. What we both swallowed was the heart-linking parasite. The parties who have it can feel each other's emotions and be controlled by the other. The one with the firmer will would be in control. So, you suppressed my feelings just now. Yes. Zhongli Qian smiled in relief. When I felt your sorrow, I stilled my heart and was able to suppress it quickly. When I felt your joy, I was also able to suppress it. I'm new to it now, but after getting some practice, I should be able to steady my emotions easily. Bailey Qingmiao. Didn't this mean that she was the one being controlled? Young Master Zhongli might felt relieved, but what about her? Bailey Qingmiao didn't know how to feel about this. You also don't need to worry, Zhongli Qian said. I'll do my best to find a way to rid us of the curse and the bugs. What I was just testing was how badly we're going to be affected for now. We can temporarily cover our eyes. It may be a bother, it's not much. As for our emotions, I'll do my best to maintain a calm state of mind. I know this might be inconvenient for you, but it's all we can do for now. We just have to stay calm and act rationally. It's at least better than being ruled by emotions. No, I'm fine with this. Bailey Qingmiao shook her head with a relieved expression. She smiled at Zhongli Qian. My Qing is getting married today. Zhongli Qian's expression stiffened. He felt Bailey Qingmiao's grief and smoothly recited a few poems in his mind. Stars hang over the broad plains, the moon's reflection ripples in river waters, savor the joys of life, do not raise to the moon an empty goblet. The verses raised his spirits greatly. Bailey Qingmiao also felt the same. Her mood suddenly changed from that of a resentful young woman's. With your help, I can let go of Qing and no longer agonize over him, so this could be a blessing in disguise. From now on, I can travel the world, seeing all the sights it has to offer and put my efforts toward ascending and becoming an immortal. Ha 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 ha. Her laughter was bright and open, and Zhongli Qian couldn't help but feel her optimism. Wenren he. Wasn't this kind of development still good? End chapter. Devil Venerable also wants to know. Chapter 35, Truth Revealed. Zhongli Qian was afraid if he kept reciting poems, the maiden in front of him might pledge brotherhood and sisterhood with him. He quickly switched to, picking a chrysanthemum under the fence, I look leisurely toward the southern mountains and some other poetry of the type. Seeing Bailey Qingmiao went from spirited to relaxed and carefree, he realized what was going on and had to chuckle at himself. What is it, young Master Zhongli? Bailey Qingmiao asked as she sensed Zhongli Qian's mood. I just thought of something that made me realize I was wrong, Zhongli Qian said with a self-deprecating smile. I was afraid that my emotions would be influenced by you and I would act out of sorts, so I forcibly suppressed those emotions. But it's not that my will was stronger than yours, but that Miss Bailey is more considerate than I am. When our emotions influence each other, you don't immediately try to change your feelings to suppress mine, but instead go along with me. If we were to struggle against each other, we might both lose control of ourselves and suffer chi deviation. Bailey Qingmiao felt self-conscious and waved her hands. It's not that. It's just that I feel like I can't be miserable and blamed myself all the time. You're actually doing me a big favor. Then let's make a deal, said Zhongli Qian. Until we get rid of these parasites, if either of us gets overly emotional, then the other should help them calm down. Not influencing them with any other emotions, just allowing them to calm down and gain perspective. That sounds good. Bailey Qingmiao said, cupping her fists to him. The rumors don't do you justice. I often heard rumors about the Zhongli clan at Shangqing sect. I feel ashamed to say that, since most sects seclude themselves from the mortal world, they have some prejudice towards cultivation clans who intermingle with ordinary society, and some even accuse them of only seeking status and prestige. Meeting young Master Zhongli today, I have understood the meaning of nobility. You're overstating, Zhongli Qian said quietly. It's not easy to live this way. Since I can't hide my feelings from you, I might as well confess that I also want to gallop around on a horse, indulging in wine and doing whatever I please. I wish I didn't have to force myself to save someone I didn't even like for the sake of the Zhongli clan's heritage and reputation. Zhongli Qian's responsibilities were the source of his strength, but at the same time, it shackled him. He didn't even know if it would be better to let go or continue bearing them. The two wandered in circles throughout the Hellfire Pavilion several times, running into a few ghost cultivators that Wenren he had sent to scare them. Wenren he was still holding on to the hope that being in danger would reveal their true feelings and spark something between them. But as the two became closer together, they treated each other more like siblings, no spark of romance between them at all. Instead, Zhongli Qian just became even more vigilant. After they repelled another wave of ghost cultivators, Zhongli Qian stood in place, bamboo scroll in hand, and looked up to the stars in the sky. Venus shone bright, heralding the coming of dawn. He slapped the scroll against the palm of his hand. I get it now. Get what? Bailey Qingmiao asked, cocking her head. Zhongli Qian put away the scroll and said into the distance, Lord Wenren, I have not developed any feelings for Miss Bailey all this while. There's no point in dragging this out any further. Why don't you reveal yourself to us? Wenren he stared blankly. It wouldn't be hard for Zhongli Qian to guess that everything was part of his plan, but how did he realize that he intended for Zhongli Qian and Bailey Qingmiao to fall in love with each other? He appeared before the two with Yin Hanjiang, saying coldly, how did you figure it out? Ah! Senior Wenren he, I'm so glad you're okay. Bailey Qingmiao said, her face lighting up with joy. I thought something had happened at Xianyuan sect and that the man in the mask had harmed you. No one can harm this venerable one, Yin Hanjiang said in a frosty tone. The masked man naturally wouldn't harm Lord Wenren because the masked man is sect leader Yin, said Zhongli Qian. Wenren he finally sized up Zhongli Qian properly. The third love interest was far more perceptive than he had expected. With that kind of foresight, how did he fall for Bailey Qingmiao in the original book? The way Zhongli Qian had guessed that Wenren he was trying to match him with Bailey Qingmiao was simple. While wandering around the Hellfire Pavilion with Bailey Qingmiao, he had asked about her meetings with Wenren he in detail and learned about their encounters at the 1,000-mile ice plains, after Miss Shu's death, and at the Golden Coast Cliffs. Bailey Qingmiao wasn't a very shrewd person and trusted Zhongli Qian by now, so she told him every detail. Cultivators had strong memories, and under Zhongli Qian's directed questioning, she relayed everything accurately. Going by Bailey Qingmiao's accounts, Zhongli Qian determined that Miss Shu Lian was actually the right protector whom he had met once, Shu Yanyan. Since he Wenzhao was an anchor for the spirit-severing array, Wenren he had ordered her to seduce him many years in advance. This was so he could break the spirit-severing array with no difficulty, yet purposefully dragged things out for 10 years, until cultivators on both sides were too weak to make use of natural spiritual energy. As this Qian admires what Lord Wenren he has done for all human lives, it was difficult to attribute malice to your intentions. I could only consider what was most logical. Without any subtlety for Bailey Qingmiao's sake, Zhongli Qian explained his conjectures to everyone. Bailey Qingmiao was dumbstruck, seemingly shaken to her core. Senior Wenren, was Miss Shu really the Xianyuan sect right protector? She's not dead. Bailey Qingmiao grabbed Wenren he's sleeve without thinking, gazing up at him with her right eye. This venerable one can summon her right now, Wenren he said. A searing glare landed on Bailey Qingmiao's hand. Wenren he didn't look toward where it had come from and just casually pulled his sleeve out of her grasp. After he was no longer in contact with her, Yin Hanjiang's glare vanished. Did Yin Hanjiang bear hostility toward Bailey Qingmiao? But Wenren he had already explained part of the plot of the abusive love affair, to him, as well as Bailey Qingmiao's relationship to him as being half his master. Yin Hanjiang shouldn't be misunderstanding things like he had in the book, so why was he acting this way? After some thought, Wenren he still couldn't figure it out and didn't want to discuss it in front of Zhongli Qian either. He could only set aside his doubts for now and send Xu Yanyan a message talisman, ordering her to come immediately to the Hellfire Pavilion. In the 3 times that Sir Wenren he and Miss Bailey have met, though the methods were harsh, I have noticed an intention to guide her, Zhongli Qian said. Miss Bailey has good aptitudes and it's my conjecture that Lord Wenren he felt the desire to mentor her, subsequently becoming frustrated with how her heart was stuck on He Wenzhou even after watching He Wenzhou involve himself with Miss Xu and Miss Lu while at the same time professing love for her at every turn. He smiled faintly. Moreover, you put the heart-linking parasite inside us. The heart-linking parasite is often used by Miao women to know the feelings of their husbands. Putting all these points together, it's not hard to guess that Lord Wenren wishes to use me to help Bailey Qing Miao escape the turmoils of love. His explanation led everyone to see him in a new light. Zhongli Qian had been an outsider to the situation. All the information he had was from Bailey Qing Miao, who was not a particularly self-aware person. With such limited information, he managed to see through a situation that even Xu Yanyan and the other members of the Xianyuan sect still hadn't figured out. It was undoubtedly impressive. How did you know I was the masked man? Yin Hanjiang took out the mask and put it on. Bailey Qing Miao involuntarily shuddered upon seeing it. The mask filled her with dread from a place deep within her. Don't be scared, Zhongli Qian said comfortingly to Bailey Qing Miao. Sect leader Yin's disguise is very good, but he said one thing that exposed him, that we weren't worthy of Lord Wenren's token. This is something that would be said by one with a great deal of veneration towards him. In that case, the masked man couldn't have harmed Lord Wenren. Additionally, since the masked man holds him in such respect, if something had happened to him, the masked man wouldn't be bothering with us. Therefore, Sir Wenren must have been safe and sound. Of the members of Xianyuan sect that I've met these past few days, only sect leader Yin met these qualifications, so I made a guess. I was simply fortunate that it turned out to be right. Venus shone above Zhongli Qian's head, the only light remaining in the night sky. He had a slight smile that put people at ease, and truly fit the expression of being an unparalleled gentleman in the world. Wenren he clapped 3 times, saying appreciatively, Zhongli Qian fits his reputation of a prodigy. And he also fit his role as a major love interest. Only someone like him was worthy of ranking as 3rd love interest, directly below Wenren he. Lord Wenren is overstating, Zhongli Qian said evenly. There's just one thing that I don't understand. Why did Lord Wenren believe that Bailey Qing Miao and myself would develop feelings for each other? Bailey Qing Miao has a kind nature and I admire her greatly. But to fall in love for her isn't such a light matter. This venerable one also doesn't understand. I was hoping young Master Zhongli could explain, Wenren he said. Zhongli Qian raised his eyebrows, his doubt showing even through his blindfold as he waited for Wenren he to elaborate. Wenren he considered his wording for a moment, then said, this venerable one has glimpsed the workings of heaven and seen that young Master Zhongli and Bailey Qing Miao might have a fated connection. Can you clarify that? I would also like to know under what conditions did I fall for Miss Bailey, said Zhongli Qian. As their exchange went speedily back and forth, Bailey Qing Miao looked between the two of them, her head spinning. They were talking about her, but their wording was carefully chosen to avoid putting her on the spot. Bailey Qing Miao looked at Zhongli Qian, wondering how he could have fallen in love at all. He was such a level-headed person and not obsessive like her. Before she could wonder more, Wenren he knocked her unconscious in one strike. Abusive Love Affair, Revised Edition, was written from Bailey Qing Miao's perspective. Wenren he didn't want the fact that he had obtained the book to show up in the story, so had to resort to crude methods. According to fate, you would have attended He Wenzhou's wedding and discovered Bailey Qing Miao imprisoned in the back mountains. Pitying her, you helped her escape. On your next meeting, You notice that she was entangled helplessly in love, so you helped her again. As this went on, you came to love her, eventually promising to abandon the Zhongli clan to travel the world with her. This Venerable One also wants to know the why of that. Zhongli Qian had never heard of anyone being able to divine fate with such details, as if they'd seen it with their own eyes. If anyone else had told this to him, he wouldn't have believed them, but Wenren he wasn't someone who would make up such a wild story. Seeing how serious he was, Zhongli Qian fell into deep thought. He thought until Venus faded from the sky and faint sunlight illuminated the ghost peak, then he said abruptly, "Since it never happened, it's difficult to guess what was my thoughts at the time. After considering it carefully and imagining the circumstances Sir Wenren he has described, I've come upon an explanation which I can deeply sympathize with." "What?" Zhongli Qian said with a bitter smile, "I should not say this, but the relationship between He Wenzhou and Bailey Qingmiao is a lot like the relationship between the Zhongli clan and myself. They can both be considered our shackles. I carry the fortunes of the Zhongli clan and must obey its principles in my every word and action. I cannot slip up for even a moment, cannot act for my own sake and defy the Zhongli clan's traditions. Miss Bailey is bound by a cruel fate, wanting to break free from He Wenzhou yet infatuated with him. I am shackled by my clan, and she is shackled by her heart. If the fate you described is true, then there is only one reason why I would abandon the Zhongli clan. It's not because I am in love with Miss Bailey, but because I want to draw courage from her. If she could abandon her feelings, then maybe I could live for myself." "I see," Wenren he said. Zhongli Qian had never confessed any love to Bailey Qingmiao. The readers had simply misinterpreted his words and intentions. It was a romance novel, after all. So when a good-looking young man appeared who looked after the protagonist and offered to give up his clan position for her, the readers would naturally understand it as love. Just like Wenren he's love tribulation and previous debt, Zhongli Qian's feelings also had hidden reasons. Bailey Qingmiao was pitiful, too. She had so many entangled relationships with so many men, yet not a single one of them was truly in love with her. "Everyone wishes to obtain someone who will be true to them for their entire life," said Wenren he to the still unconscious Bailey Qingmiao. "It seems that one never existed for you. Too bad that she couldn't hear it. Even if you figured everything out, this Venerable One won't undo the heart-linking parasites and tracking curse," Wenren he said to Zhongli Qian. "If you don't want to become infatuated with He Wenzhou alongside Bailey Qingmiao, then you'd better work with this Venerable One." Zhongli Qian wasn't annoyed and even had a hint of relief in his voice. The Zhongli clan won't allow someone who cannot use his eyes and has a heart-linking parasite in him as their heir. Your actions have actually given me a new possibility. The reputation and prestige of the Zhongli clan gives you the ability to surpass Mahayana at body unity stage. Will you not regret giving it up? "I can cultivate to Mahayana someday on my own," said Zhongli Qian. "I plan on returning to the clan to transfer my responsibilities, then I'll travel the world with Bailey Qingmiao. After a few decades, perhaps I can find my own Dao." Indeed, Wenren he's actions had opened up a new opportunity for Zhongli Qian, and Zhongli Qian was willing to face it. "After you reach Mahayana, this Venerable One looks forward to facing you in battle." "This Qian thanks the sect master for his recognition," said Zhongli Qian. As they spoke, Xu Yanyan had arrived at Ghost Peak, looking annoyed. She landed at Wenren he's side and said, "It stinks here. And Xiu Kongxiu asked me to bring her back an unowned bone so she can have a memento. I wish I could beat her to death. Too bad she's stronger." "Protector Xu," greeted Zhongli Qian. "What happened to your eyes?" Xu Yanyan asked, her expression filled with concern. "Can you not see? Did the Venerable One gouge your eyes out?" "No." Zhongli Qian hadn't finished talking when Xu Yanyan turned to Wenren he. "Venerable One, if you were going to take his eyes out, why didn't you let this subordinate do it? This subordinate is capable of it. Thinking of how the last thing he'll ever see is my face, It would have made me very happy. Bailey Qingmiao drifted back to consciousness. The first thing she saw was Miss Shu's face, and the first thing she heard was those words. She nearly fainted again from shock. "You're still alive, Miss Shu," Bailey Qingmiao said as she got to her feet. "Oh, it's you, little fool." Noticing another woman, Xu Yanyan instantly took up the attitude of a demonic sect protector. She said calmly and boldly, "You've got a problem with me being alive? Are you happy that the two of you got tricked into running around in circles because of me? If you're not, that's good. I love it best when people are unhappy." "No, I'm happy," Bailey Qingmiao said, a single tear flowing from her exposed eye. "I'm really glad you're alive." Even though she had been tricked, her first thought upon learning the truth was that she's thankful that she didn't actually drove someone to death. She didn't think anything along the lines of how despicable the demonic sects were by taking advantage of righteous cultivators. Xu Yanyan, on the other hand, felt uneasy at Bailey Qingmiao's words. She stiffened her expression and said, "Being happy is right too. You should thank this protector for exposing He Wenzeo's true face for you." Xu Yanyan wiped away Bailey Qingmiao's tear with one hand and said gently, "I'll only tell you this once. Take it as repayment for deceiving you. I've seen too many men like He Wenzeo. He was fully willing to be with me but would be happy to turn around and say it was because he was seduced. He goes after anyone who catches his eye, yet constantly tells you that you're the only one in his heart. He puts all the responsibility on the woman. Men like that are good for nothing. You deserve better than him, silly girl." End chapter. Devil Venerable also wants to know. Chapter 36, Seclusion. "Miss Bailey," Zhongli Qian said gently to Bailey Qingmiao, "no matter what you feel now, I won't suppress it. Whether it's joy or grief, I'll bear it with you." Zhongli Qian was prepared for the depths of a heartbreak, but after a moment, his heart was still calm. He looked questioningly at Bailey Qingmiao. "It's strange," Bailey Qingmiao said with a hand over her heart. "I should be sad, so why don't I feel anything? I've long since had suspicions about Miss Shu and even decided that myself and Shikshan should go our own separate ways after that. Just that, when I saw him injured in the aftermath of the Great Sect War, I forgot about everything else. When Shikshan married Lushija, I wanted to let go again. But right now, I feel like if I returned to the sect and saw him again, I'd fall back into my old habits." "That's indeed pretty odd," Xu Yanyan said. She withdrew her hand, the tenderness vanishing from her face as she returned to being the uncaring demonic sect protector. "Did the Venerable One have orders for this subordinate?" Xu Yanyan asked, looking at Wenren He. "Not anymore." Wenren He gave Xu Yanyan a look that said, "You can scram now." He just called over Xu Yanyan in order to let Bailey Qingmiao know the truth about her and He Wenzeo. That goal was accomplished, so he didn't need her here anymore. Xu Yanyan, who had dropped everything to rush over. Even if she was annoyed, she had to hide it in front of the Devil Venerable. She might as well go look for that bone. "Do you also want to break free from your shackles?" Zhongli Qian asked Bailey Qingmiao. "Of course. I don't want to become a person I would despise. But how can I make sure I don't make a mistake that again?" Bailey Qingmiao said, at a loss. She wasn't stupid, just ruled by her emotions. Everyone could understand things logically, but few people could carry it out. "Letting go is difficult and not something that can be done overnight," said Zhongli Qian. "I'm willing to help you along the way. In return, I hope Miss Bailey will help me find a new direction." No one was forcing Bailey Qingmiao to let go immediately. They were all encouraging her, helping her, giving her time. Gradually, she felt less troubled and was reminded of something. "I was planning to return to the sect after traveling for 10 years, but on second thought, that was selfish. Young Master Zhongli, I need to return in order to complete an unfinished task. Would you be willing to accompany me and prevent me from making a mistake again? I also hope Miss Bailey can accompany me back to the Zhongli Manor. If they see you, the clan elders will be more willing to find a new heir, Zhongli Qian said. Bailey Qingmiao. Why would they be more willing to let go of Zhongli Qian upon seeing her? Wenren he silently watched their exchange, which was friendly but without any hint of deeper feelings. He felt like the next minute, they would swear brotherhood and sisterhood without any hint of romantic notion at all. But this was still fine. Instead of diverting Bailey Qingmiao's affections, Wenren he preferred that she didn't love anyone at all and cultivate the path of indifference. The path of indifference was the best way for her to merge with her divine nature. Oh yeah. Bailey Qingmiao slapped her thigh. Senior Wenren he, where's my master? Is she okay? Her right eye was filled with hope. Since Senior Wenren he's purpose in all of this was to help her overcome temptation, then the disappearance of her master must be part of the plan as well. Certainly nothing bad had happened to her. She might not necessarily be, Wenren he said casually. Upon returning, she had picked a fight with Xu Yanyan and the main hall was only still standing because Wenren he had stopped her. Right now, the devil Venerable, his deputy and the right protector were all away from the main hall, so there was no one who could keep her in check. Anything could have happened to her by this point. When I left, she was letting Hall Master Miao's bugs bite her. Xu Yanyan had returned after picking up a bone and hearing Qiu Kongxiu being mentioned, she barged into the conversation. Bugs. Zhongli Qian said. After hearing Bailey Qingmiao's description of Elder Kingxiu's actions, he was very curious who this person was before the Great Sect War. The events that Bailey Qingmiao had told him became more concerning the more he thought about them. He really hoped his guess wasn't correct. Xu Yanyan rolled her eyes. She transmitted to everyone except Bailey Qingmiao, she used to be a ghost cultivator with no flesh, so she had no reason to fear Hall Master Miao's bugs. Now that she's a wandering immortal, Hall Master Miao threatened that he had a Qinggu that could even harm wandering immortals. She didn't believe him and wanted him to try. I was waiting for her to croak. Zhongli Qian. He had basically guessed who Elder Kingxiu was. The people of Xianyuan sect really were true to their natures and could make themselves at home in any situation. Knowing Protector Xu, Sect Master Wenren he and the new Protector Qiu, Zhongli Qian couldn't help but think that he had restricted himself too much in the past. He had never been able to express his true nature and didn't know what kind of person he would become after letting go of his responsibilities. Everyone in the demonic sect acted according to their desires, each living their own way. Though there was one person who drew Zhongli Qian's attention. He cast his senses toward Yin Hanjiang. The newly appointed deputy sect leader had his eyes half-lidded, looking at the train of Wenren he's robes. Zhongli Qian couldn't help but transmit to him, sect leader Yin, of the 7 human sufferings, birth, old age, illness, and death are certainties, but the last 3, resentment, parting and desire, can be avoided. Yin Hanjiang shifted his gaze to Zhongli Qian with difficulty. Even though the young man had his eyes covered, his perceptive gaze seemed to pierce through his blindfold. Sect Master Wenren he is an extraordinary person, Zhongli Qian said. He is powerful and decisive in his actions, and few things in the world are able to capture his attention and his heart. A desire too strong might give birth to resentment down the road. Better for sect leader Yin to let go early and not invest your heart, lest it lead to deviation in your future cultivation. Yin Hanjiang understood this rationally. But just like how Bailey Qingmiao was fated to be trapped by He Wenzhao, he was unable to let go of his admiration towards Wenren he. Of course he wanted to step away. He had tried but just ended up sinking deeper. When his Venerable One inadvertently showed tenderness and concern for him, it was like a blow to his heart. Bailey Qingmiao wanted to let go, but he only wanted to hold on tighter. If there is no desire, there will be no suffering, said Yin Hanjiang. If there is only love, there will never be resentment. He wouldn't hold any expectations for his Venerable One to return his feelings, and he wouldn't pursue something that was impossible. He would be happy just staying by his Venerable One's side, keeping his tiny wish hidden. Zhongli Qian shook his head. Sect leader Yin was far more stubborn than he had expected. This situation would lead to tragedy if it went on. Since they had said all they needed to, the four returned to the main hall. Zhongli Qian and Bailey Qingmiao remained outside its array, with Wenren He reassuring her that he would return Elder Qingxiu in one piece. Bailey Qingmiao sat obediently in a guest room and waited. Zhongli Qian thought back to what Xu Yanyan had said and felt Wenren He might find it difficult to keep his promise. Indeed, the moment Wenren He entered the main hall, he saw Xu Kongxiu with half of her body already eaten by bugs while she was stepping on a badly battered hall master Miao and laughing. Ha 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 ha. What did this protector say? Even if I have a body, you still can't do anything to me. Wenren He saw that she only had half her face, half her flesh and half her organs. He thought back to how he had told Bailey Qingmiao that he would return her in one piece. It turned out Xu Kongxiu was willing to use her own life to spite him. Seeing Wenren He's displeasure, Yin Hanjiang blasted Xu Kongxiu away with a swing of his sword. Xu Kongxiu had already expended all her energy against Hall Master Miao and was unable to defend herself. She slammed into the opposite wall, spitting up a mouthful of blood. Wenren He sighed heavily. Holding back his anger, he said, I don't care how you do it, but make yourself presentable to others. You can heal your injuries later. Xu Kongxiu didn't dare to talk back and shifted the flesh from the intact parts of her body to her face. She wrapped her black robe tightly around herself, making it so that her head looked undamaged while blood still dripped from her body underneath. Looking at her current state, Xu Yanyan laughed her ass off. She tossed the bone to Xu Kongxiu and said, Here's your bone. Take it back and have fun reminiscing over it. Wenren He flew to the main seat and sat down, with Yin Hanjiang following close behind, standing next to the throne. Xu Kongxiu and Xu Yanyan rushed to take their places as left and right protectors. 4 battered and beaten hall masters also managed to stand with each other's help. Wenren He swept his gaze over all of them. After the Great Sect War, this Venerable was occupied with other matters and have neglected that Xianyuan sect. Each of you also seem to have forgotten your positions, constantly fighting amongst each other. If this continues, how can the Xianyuan sect remain standing? This subordinate was wrong, the 6 said simultaneously. From today onwards, the Xianyuan sect's array will be closed and no one will be allowed to leave the sect grounds. The 4 hall masters are to return to their own domains and recuperate, so that in 100 years' time, you can regain your power from before the Great Sect War. Understood? Protector Xu, for not knowing her place and trying to steal this Venerable's position, has already been assigned a punishment of 100 years. However, this Venerable previously agreed to let her cultivate on the burning sky drum before the war. Therefore, during our seclusion, Protector Xu is permitted to cultivate on the burning sky drum for the duration of her punishment, Wenren He said. I can cultivate for 100 years. Xu Yanyan said, her eyes lighting up. Venerable One. Hall Master Yuan called out frantically. If she cultivated on it for 100 years, she could ascend on the spot, and probably become a great golden immortal on top of that. This is clearly a reward, not a punishment. The other hall masters and Xu Kongxiu also looked dissatisfied. Thus, this Venerable One has decided that Protector Xu's punishment will be shortened by 99 years. That leaves only 1 year. Is everyone satisfied with this? This was the reward he had previously offered Xu Yanyan, but it was in return for something she had done for him and not for the Xianyuan sect. If he wanted to reduce the punishment, other people still needed to be appeased. After all, Hall Master Ruan and Hall Master Shi had almost been sent to Xu Yanyan's bed. Yes, of course. Everyone nodded their heads in succession. Xu Yanyan also felt it was reasonable. After all, She preferred a good work-life balance, and would get tired of cultivating for 100 years straight. Protector Qiu will leave and remain undercover in Shangqing sect, Wenren he said. Should this subordinate relay information about Shangqing sect? Qiu Kongxiu asked earnestly. That won't be necessary, said Wenren he. Just act according to your own judgment. If you put your efforts toward helping Shangqing sect, that will be its own form of interference. Qiu Kongxiu. Was the Venerable One praising her? She'll just take it as praise. Xu Yanyan covered her mouth. Were it not for how serious the situation was, she would be laughing her head off. Hall Master, she will be presented with the 100 Ghost flag, which can prevent ghosts of void boundary and below from approaching him, Wenren he said, glancing at Shi Kongzin. Shi Kongzin was so happy he nearly spat up blood. After receiving the flag, he returned contentedly to the Hellfire Pavilion. The other 3 Hall Masters all earned their own rewards. Even the deeply traumatized Hall Master Ruan had received a forgetfulness potion which could erase some memories he didn't like. The Xianyuan sect had fallen into disorder after the Great Sect War with Wenren. He even ended up injured. Still, he easily reorganized the sect under him, which would make his subordinates not dare to cause trouble for the next few decades. After receiving their orders, each of the Hall Masters left with Qiu Kongxiu, leaving with Bailey Qingmiao and Zhongli Qian. Xianyuan sect sent out word that it would be in seclusion for the next 30 years and would not be engaging with the outside world. Wenren he and Yin Hanjiang then each entered seclusion on their own, to work on their new techniques or new weapon respectively. Wenren he's cultivation grounds consisted of an indoors and outdoors space. The room was very big, enough to comfortably hold Xu Yanyan's 100-meter-long frost jade bed. That was because if Wenren he released his power in a smaller room, it would probably need to be rebuilt every day. Both the inside and outside spaces were surrounded by arrays. He and Yin Hanjiang could cultivate alongside each other without interfering with each other. After he was finally alone, Wenren he placed a hand on his left arm. The illusion he'd made out of blood mist vanished. Everyone, including Yin Hanjiang, thought that the arm that Wenren he had used to forge the army-crushing sword was quickly restored. Only Wenren he knew that this arm was a fake created out of spiritual essence, which he couldn't use for anything. Over the past days, he had taken many elixirs for restoring the body and soul, all to no avail. Blood had to be restored with blood, and soul with soul. What he needed was not legendary treasures or spiritual medicines, but the blood and soul of a cultivator. No wonder the blood demon elder had become the target of the entire cultivation world 10,000 years ago, and that everyone looked at blood cultivators as destined to become demons. Only after becoming a blood cultivator did Wenren he realized that his body no longer had meridians or a danshan, and that he could no longer cultivate by his previous methods. The only thing he could do to advance or restore his body was to devour others' souls. His power had no bottlenecks, and being above Mahayana stage, he no longer needed to face heavenly tribulations. Just by absorbing souls, he could become strong enough to fight the immortals of the upper realms. But if he kept increasing his power without strengthening his mind, then sooner or later he would be enslaved by it and become a heartless monster who only knew to consume. Blood cultivators were destined to become demons. There was no return after going down this route. Wenren he clamped a hand on his arm, blood chi roiling within his body. He didn't care about the lives of other cultivators, and had killed several experts of the righteous sects during the war. He was willing to kill, but he would not absorb anyone's soul. Some people might think that there was nothing wrong with taking the soul of an enemy. They could eliminate opposition and increase their power at the same time. But this was a slippery slope. Human desire was a bottomless abyss which would never be satisfied. If he started it, the day would come when he would no longer have compunctions about devouring human souls. At that point, he would turn on the people most important to him. He would never go down that path, even if he could never advance, and even ended up wasting away to eventually die. He had closed the gates of Xianyuan sect for 30 years in order to figure something out in that period of time. Even if he didn't find a solution within that 30 years, Yin Hanjiang was sure to make significant advances and would be able to help him manage the Xianyuan sect. Yin Hanjiang at least had to be strong enough that, if the day came when Wenren he became desperate enough to enter the sea of blood in the underworld, Yin Hanjiang would be able to follow him. Wenren he put up another array inside and took out his 2 books. He needed to use them to keep an eye on what's happening outside from time to time. He couldn't be completely ignorant of things for 30 years. End chapter.